Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Is my microphone on? I bet you it is not. We always like to do a microphone check.
It was on. You turned it off.
Huh?
You turned it off. Now it's back.
I know. I switched it over. I already said that, Jayme. Welcome to the show, everybody. This is the TruthWire. I'm your host, Craig Pasta Jardula. What is going on? Hold on a second. So I get 0 followers on Twitter right now. 0. Man, what is going on with my Twitter? What is going on? It's crazy. 0 viewers, and I'm watching it. Guys, do us a favor. Get it on out there. Send it on out. Let people know. Share the YouTube. Share the Rumble. Share the tweeters. Wherever you're at. Share. Get it out there. The TruthWire is here. And it looks like we are live. Anyways, guys, thank you very much. Welcome to the show. Fiorella should be along shortly. Until she gets here, though, I want to read what was in the last Friday, February 13th. I got this after the show. I wish I had this before the show. We talked a lot about what was going on in Minnesota, guys. I went out there. I did some work. Harris fam, she's coming into play. Bring her on in when she's ready. Welcome to the show, everybody. Fiorella Isabel. Jayme, are you there? Fiorella Isabel. Don't know where Jayme left. There he goes. Now he's back. Thank you, Jayme. Fiorella's here. Fiorella, welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. I'm here. What's
All
going
right.
on?
Your microphone's working. Your microphone's good, fam. I was just going to read a quick little story here. Guys, do us a favor. Share out the links.
Yeah,
Get them on out there. 10 minutes, and that's all we have in here. My Twitter got
I didn't
nobody
share
on.
it.
Huh?
I didn't share it. I just got on, so I didn't.
Yeah,
get a
well,
chance to share it.
everybody share now. Share like the Dickens. And while you're sharing, I'm going to read this really quickly because this is like, once again, this is what I'm talking about. No matter what they say, no matter how badly they want to try to act as if everybody who got in the streets is just a paid operative, which is beyond ridiculous, right? We understand. We've been out in these protests. We knew the people protesting. Now, you might not agree with them on a lot of things, but they are in the streets for a reason, the majority. And it's not for a paycheck. It's because they feel something. And in Minnesota, I discovered, and I try to share with everybody, that everybody I talked to, and most of the people who were out in force, were obviously the anti-ICE people out there. Not only was it a question about just an overreaching police force, national police force, or a strain on the Constitution and your civil liberties. People genuinely, wholeheartedly felt that they didn't want these Gestapo-like tactics terrorizing their neighbors, their immigrant community who they love, and their friends and loved ones, their neighbors. So that's why they were out here. But I'm just going to read this real quick. It says, man, Minnesota crackdown ending. This is what happens when you get 100,000 people organically in the streets. It says border czar praises deportation surge met by resistance. The Trump administration is calling the immigration crackdown in Minnesota. I'm sorry, it's so black, it's hard to read. Is calling an end to the crackdown in Minnesota. Border czar Tom Homan said Thursday of the 2-month operation that led to thousands of arrests, angry mass protests, and fatal shootings of 2 U.S. citizens. The operation, which the Department of Homeland Security called the largest immigration enforcement operation ever, has been a flashpoint in the debate over President Donald Trump's mass deportation efforts, flaring up after Renee Good and Alex Preddy were killed by federal officers in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So, yeah. That's what's going on. Ma'am, can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Okay.
just wasn't really.
It was hard to read because it's so small. I need to get my magnifying glass out next time. But pretty much, they're calling an end to it, fam. They're saying no mas. They're stopping, and they're moving on.
I'm sorry. Who's moving on?
The operation, Tom Homan came. They're going to pull all the agents off the street for now in Minnesota.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, for now, I don't think it's going to be a permanent thing. Because this is still happening. It's happening all over the place. People are still talking about it. They're going to city council meetings. Some of our friends that we know, they're starting to get on social media, like on social medias that they weren't on before, and they're starting to talk about it more thoroughly now because they don't want people to get their eye off the ball. They know that this is continuing to happen and that this is a continued thing. It's not gonna stop, but just a reminder that it's not even about the immigration issue anymore, and it never really was. It's long stopped being about that. So I think everybody has to remind themselves of that and remind everybody that this is about surveillance. And we've seen the latest stories about, Palantir being involved in the kidnapping of Nicolas Maduro, Palantir, Peter Thiel, and all of these Israeli-backed technocratic companies that are basically using AI surveillance being involved in the destruction of Gaza and the destruction of Palestine and in the targeting of people who are in opposition to what this government is doing in the same way that people will be in opposition to the next government that is doing. I mean, whatever it is, whether it's AOC or Kamala Harris, God help us all, that's where we're headed. And that's what we're going to talk about is the push by the Democrats to capitalize on Trump's failures, because we know that that's where this is going, but also the fact that we really don't have an option when you look at the Uniparty, because you will see both Marco Rubio and AOC representing supposedly two sides that are different, that are polarizing in opposition, but really at the end of the day, let's be serious, they're literally pretty much pushing regime change, they're pushing war, they're just doing it on different ends of the different regions. Let's say they're still cartels, they're operating like terrorist gangs, but they just are part of a different terrorist gang that also works for the same guy. I mean, it's just very theatrical, the differences we get in displaying this, and I think we really need to focus on that too.
Jayme, you were supposed to play that video coming right out of the break that you have set up, but let's play this really quickly. I wanted to start the show with this, but check this out. You remember this movie, fam? Watch this.
Slow ahead. I can go slow ahead. Come on down and chump some of this shit.
The Dow is over 50,000 right now.
Was that loud? Gotcha.
As loud as it gets.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Anyways, fam, the Dow was over 50%, 50,000. Just want to let you know that. Funny stuff. And I think, getting back to what you said, that is going to be the overarching theme. Right now, the Donald Trump administration is in. It's already been elected. Doesn't have to worry about it. So it could be as awful as it can be right now. They start the process of making the Democrats look good. So in less than 4 years, they come around and now they are put in office, right? And now they advance their agenda. But the only thing that you need to keep your eye focused on is it's the same thing, the same donors that they are going to same. It's like Fam says all the time. It's just a continuation of the last administration, right? And now that's the overarching theme, because remember the things that Donald Trump was supposed to bring us, right? Freedom of speech, fam, right? Our civil liberties were going to be protected again. They're no longer going to be able to attack you. They weren't going to weaponize the State Department or the Department of Homeland Security anymore to spy on Americans. They were going to get back to that Constitution. That's not the case. Whoever's in power takes their turn, whoever comes back in power, whatever, they take their turn pissing on the Constitution, taking away your civil liberties and infringing them upon you, spying on you. That's what's going on. And each side is advancing the ball. We'll show that right now. But, fam, I think it's a great thing that you talked about, too, as well. We got to make sure that people understand that when Gavin Newsom comes around, they're doing all this on purpose. That's why his name was left out of anything in those Epstein files. Do I know that he was involved with Epstein? He says no, yada, yada, yada. But I will say this much, fam. People close to him, Tom Pritzker, right, who gave him so much money. He's part of the Pritzker family. Tom Pritzker was named a lot of times and has been known to hang out with Jeffrey Epstein and likes little boys. So don't believe any hype. AOC, Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, they're all part of the same fucking clan that Donald Trump, Pam Bondi, Marco Rubio, all part of the same team. And you got to remember that. Okay. Let's get into it. Let's get this ball rolling. Let's start off with Marco Rubio's at the Munich Security Council, fam, right? Which a lot of people were anticipating what this is going to be about. Obviously, where we are with Ukraine, Russia now, what's going to happen moving forward, where is NATO going to come into play, right? It's in Munich, Germany. The sad part about this is that so many people, but once again, these are the paid propagandists. These are the real paid propagandists, not the people in the street. You think, oh, we're going to pay people to get in the street? No, we can get them out there for free. We know how to get people's emotions and move them. Please. Who are we paying? The paid propagandists are the ones that they're fucking pushing and lifting and throttling the numbers for in a positive way on all your social media forms. The one that you think are the new people in there to bring us the news. That's who they're throttling or advancing, we should say. There's a lot of people that were like praising Marco Rubio's speech. Fam, did you get a chance to listen to the whole thing or just bits and pieces of it?
Yeah, I listened to bits and pieces of it, and it was pretty freaking bad. It was very, very pro-colonial, and people are saying, how does a Cuban guy stand there and talk about the expansion of U.S. colonialism? And it's like, well, because he's not representative of anything Cuba has right now. I mean, he's the counter opposite. He's the go-to guy that's been the one to target Latin America. He's been planning the targets and the attacks against Nicolas Maduro for decades. He has been a huge part of this. He is, in fact, the guy behind Trump that is trying to rally against Cuba, against Venezuela, against the entirety of Latin America. It is Marco Rubio that is in that position as Secretary of Defense to take down much of Latin America. So as much as it is called the Don Roe Doctrine, the driving force and the position and the power behind that is Marco Rubio.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that's positive about the Donald Trump administration is that it's so overt instead of covert.
Yeah.
A lot of times these things we kept in the back end, they never talked about them. Like Obama's, his illegal immigration or whatever you want to call it, undocumented worker, his protocols and whatnot were not the norm. They were really bad, but they did them covertly. They didn't let people know what was going on. So his policies that were just as equal to some of the Donald Trump policies, right? There are a lot of the same type of tactics going on, especially at the border. And I believe Tom Lumen did some work for Obama or work for his administration. So it's the same guy there. But let's get to it, fam, because this is right out in the open. And I think that's the whole thing is that, they came across as the Donald Trump administration as, oh, America's getting taken advantage of. And it's getting taken advantage of and pushed into unnecessary wars to spend this money. And I'm going to bring apart good management. We're going to make America great again. We're going to watch what's going on. But instead of it being we're getting a taking advantage of, let's stop getting into these wars. We're getting a take advantage of, and we're going to make these people pay for taking advantage of us. And they just fooled you into being more of a pro-imperialist than you were before. This is Marco Rubio right now, and this is the State Department, I believe, right? No, this is setting the table with Mark. We'll get to the State Department, and we'll be the second one. But this is just setting the table. This is 2 minutes and 15 seconds. We'll give you a little bit of an idea of what Marco Rubio was talking about. Make sure the volume's all the way up, guys. All the links are in the chat to help us out. Go ahead and watch this.
For 5 centuries before the end of the Second World War, the West had been expanding. Its missionaries, its pilgrims, its soldiers, its explorers pouring out from its shores to cross oceans, settle new continents, build vast empires extending out across the globe. But in 1945, for the first time since the age of Columbus, it was contracting. Europe was in ruins. Half of it lived behind an iron curtain, and the rest looked like it would soon follow. The great Western empires had entered into terminal decline, accelerated by godless communist revolutions and by anti-colonial uprisings. that would transform the world and drape the red hammer and sickle across vast swaths of the map in the years to come. Against that backdrop, then as now, many came to believe that the West's age of dominance had come to an end, and that our future was destined to be a faint and feeble echo of our past. But together, our predecessors recognized that decline was a choice, and it was a choice they refused to make. This is what we did together once before, and this is what President Trump and the United States want to do again now, together with you. And this is why we do not want our allies to be weak, because that makes us weaker. We want allies who can defend themselves so that no adversary will ever be tempted to test our collective strength. This is why we do not want our allies to be shackled by guilt and shame. We want allies who are proud of their culture and of their heritage, who understand that we are heirs to the same great and noble civilization, and who together with us are willing and able to defend it. And this is why we do not want allies to rationalize the broken status quo rather than reckon with what is necessary to fix it. For we in America have no interest in being polite and orderly caretakers of the West's managed decline.
Okay. So there you are, fam. I don't know where you want to get started on this, but I mean, I like the way he sets the table. To me, when I hear something like this, it just kind of makes you think about the programming of our schooling, right? What we're taught, especially in history and whatnot, how these kind of align. Like the way we were always taught that we're like Captain America going in, fighting for human values and decency, for democracy and freedom around the world. That's what we're all about. You know, he kind of sets that whole table and even mentions the world, you know, the word builds vast empires, right? We're an empire in decline, but we don't have to. And of course, mentioning the bad communists trying to get us, whatnot. They lived under that rule. And then eventually we were able to get together and, you know, push it back. You know, I mean, almost justifying this form of colonialism, saying dominance and let's do this again, right? Let's buy right into it. But it definitely does make me think about the programming we have and how we teach our children. That right there goes aligned with what's in our history books growing up, to kind of program and manufacture a society that is okay and thinks that empire is good. And he was just so openly overt about it. Go ahead, fam.
Yeah, well, I think it's disturbing to hear somebody justify colonialism, which is exactly what he got on the podium and did. And he's able to do that now because there is this, I don't know how other way to describe it other than a right-wing neo-fascist rising ideology that is reminiscent and evocative in Zionism. It's very much there in what we're seeing develop with the likes of Elon Musk and the Silicon Valley technocrats. It is this superiority, this idea that because we are capable of such great things like advancing technology, like conquering lands, like genocide, and we have conquered all of this, then it is our right, our manifest destiny, so to speak, to be able to continue to do that. And Marco Rubio just got on that podium and not just justified what the United States has done, but what everybody before the United States did. And even said that when Europe failed to continue in this imperialism that it was a part of, the United States took the mantle and went on and rescued the world, not just from communism, but from anti-colonial uprisings that he looked down on, that he thinks were actually hurting the world, when in reality, what he's saying is these people should have just sat down and allowed the world to kill them and control them, basically enslave them. Because if you actually look about why there were colonial uprisings, why there was peoples in South America, Latin America, Africa, Southeast Asia rose up against colonialism, it's because they were basically slaves and treated as second-class citizens in their own countries, and they were conquered. So what he's saying by standing there and saying, "Oh, we saved the world from communism and anti-colonial uprisings," he's literally saying that these shouldn't happen, that you shouldn't rise up against any theocratic or colonial government. And at the end of the day, weirdly enough, while talking about, you know, American excellence and the spread of the United States and how it's helped the world, he's admitting that the United States has engaged in colonialism and imperialism and in all of the things that the world today recognizes as terrible, but has seemingly been unable to do anything about it. And hence we have the Gaza genocide. And as I said months ago, a long time ago, when this was happening, after the genocide in Gaza, they will be able to justify everything else that they do from here, because nothing is going to be enough or as bad, because we've already allowed that to happen. And this is why you see what happened with Venezuela. This is why you're seeing what's happening with Cuba, because if they were able to do a genocide and nobody was able to stop it, then the next thing that happens, it's just going to be out in the front. And as you said, very, very overt.
Here's the next clip. I mean, this to me is kind of crazy, because this is what the State Department was promoting. Like, you know, I got a tweet from the State Department, what they shared. I got a tweet later on from what Marco Rubio shared, because I want to understand their mindset. And like I said, you know, they know how to sell this very, very well. So this is the State Department making a tweet. This is what they shared.
The United Nations still has tremendous potential to be a tool for good in the world.
Volume is up.
But we cannot ignore that today, on the most pressing matters before us, it has no answers and has played virtually no role. It could not solve the war in Gaza. Instead, it was American leadership that freed captives from barbarians and brought about a fragile truce. It has not solved the war in Ukraine. It took American leadership in partnership with many of the countries here today just to bring the two sides to the table in search of a still elusive peace. It was powerless to constrain the nuclear program of radical Shia clerics in Tehran. That required 14 bombs dropped with precision from American B-2 bombers. And it was unable to address the threat to our security from a narco-terrorist dictator in Venezuela. Instead, it took American special forces to bring this fugitive to justice. The United Nations still has tremendous potential to be a tool for good in the world. But we cannot ignore that today, on the most pressing matters before us, it has no answers and has played virtually no role. It could not solve the war in Gaza.
There you go.
Instead, it was American leadership that freed captives
Jayme, it's
from
stopped.
barbarians.
It's done.
And brought about.
Okay, so very Trumpish, right? Being able to stroke your own ego, right? You couldn't do this; it was American leadership who did that, and whatnot. And I think we should also kind of question what is the definition of a dictator according to the right. You know, I hear so many people on the conservative side talk about he's a dictator, he's a socialist dictator. The guy won 3 elections, right? You want to say that their elections are bad compared to our elections? I mean, oh, well, what does that have to do? What do our elections being bad have to do with their elections being bad? Like, maybe you should clean your own fucking house first, right? But they love to repeat this stuff. And, you know, I don't know, fam, if you have any opinions about this too as well. You know, but I thought it was very Trumpish, this part over here. And the State Department going ahead and saying, all right, yeah, look at these things we did, justifying every form of colonialism and empire moving forward. Go ahead, fam.
That's why he's there.
Yeah.
The whole point of the Trump administration is to get the right that was starting to see through the surveillance state, through the authoritarianism, and get them to cheer for more war. Get them to manufacture consent for a war via the idea that Maduro is a narco-terrorist, that the Shias are going to come to America and bring about Sharia law, and that they're going to take over and come through the Mexican border. I mean, that's all they could do, is use the immigration issue to fearmonger these really idiotic people into believing that this is all about their safety. And so they can justify the wars, so they can justify surveillance. So many of them can justify child sex trafficking and pedophilia because their guy was doing it. It had to be Donald Trump. If it was Joe Biden that was doing all of that, they'd be all up in arms. But because it's Donald Trump, they get to justify it. And one of the things that really is really pointed here that Marco Rubio talks about in their view, and this is why you can't escape the discussion of racism or the discussion of discrimination or the idea that this has zero to do with race, because he describes the people in Palestine, right, who he's going to say it's about Hamas, but he's describing people in Palestine, people in Gaza who were burned alive, children that were killed, hundreds of thousands of people that are people that are still dying today, but hundreds of thousands of people that did perish in not a war, but a genocide. And he's calling it a war for that purpose. He's saying that they were barbarians and that they rescued these groups of civilized people, which are the Zionists that killed babies, the Zionists that raped people, sodomized people, the Zionists that have made themselves hated around the world. He's justifying them and calling them the civilized people and calling the people that were the victims barbarians. And that tells you that the way they view people of the region of West Asia, or as many Americans refer to as the Middle East, right? That they view them as less than. That no matter what they tell Saudi Arabia or Qatar or the United Arab Emirates, whatever they tell these people, they're never going to look at them as equals. They're always going to look at them as barbarians. They're always going to use them for their own whims, just like they're using Jelani right now to do XYZ. The United States and Europe, the beautiful garden, look at these people as less than, as people to be conquered, as people to be feared if they're not conquered. And that is a reality. You can't deny that supremacy there. And it's not just racial, yeah, but it's a huge component of it. There's a religious component of it. There's a Zionist component of it. And Marco Rubio is there as Secretary of State in both of these regions for that specific reason, because he's such a self-hating gusano that they chose him to do that very thing. Yeah.
By the way, fam, I'm so glad that you mentioned this. That's the reason why he's here, but he's also good at what he does, right? Like the next clip I put, this guy really believes the State Department rhetoric. Here's a clip of him, and this is the reason why he's here, because he can do this stuff well. Here's a clip of him with Medea Benjamin in the halls of Congress. Listen to what he says. I mean, he knows the State Department talking points, the CIA talking points so well that's why they chose him for this position.
Senator Rubio, will you call for ceasefire?
No, I will not.
Gaza?
On the contrary.
Senator Rubio,
are you filming it?
Wait,
I want you guys to get this. I want them to destroy every element of Hamas they can get their hands on. These people are vicious animals who did horrifying crimes. And I hope you guys post that.
And what about the civilians that are being killed every day?
Hamas should stop hiding behind civilians, putting civilians in the way. Hamas knew that this was going to lead to this. So Hamas has stopped building their military installations underneath hospitals.
So you don't care that 15,000 have died? You don't care about the babies that are being killed every day?
I think it's terrible, and I think Hamas is 100% to blame. That's what I think. Make sure you post that, please.
Right? Most people would have seen her, ignored her, said something bad, and kept walking. He'll sit there. He had the time to stop and look at the camera. I hope you post that, because this is the real problem. He knows how to sell those State Department talking points very well, fam. That's also a reason why he's there.
He knows how to sell that for the Zionists, but let me tell you, that video will get him more hate than he has ever gotten in his life, because that just shows how lacking in humanity he is. I mean, even some of the more ardent Zionists, or the people that were supporting the Israel, or that were blaming Hamas, now 2 years later have understood who's really at fault here. But Marco Rubio continues to push this narrative. Marco Rubio continues to use Hamas to justify the unjustifiable. And I think that is something that's going to send so much wave of hatred towards him? How can you look at that and listen to that and not hate him and not say that guy doesn't belong in government? He belongs at The Hague. He literally belongs in prison for the rest of his life. That's where he belongs. So, yeah.
Well, listen, he
Disgusting.
does give everybody that the people who are still arguing this, the confirmation bias. That's what they keep going on. How long did they go? Oh, Hamas, Hamas, Hamas. Fam, I put up a clip of what this guy shared of himself, Marco Rubio. You got to know what the sociopath thinks. I was like, oh, which part of this whole 21-minute speech or 20-minute speech would this guy choose to put up of himself? Well, it's this one.
National security, which this conference is largely about, is not merely a series of technical questions. How much we spend on defense or where, how we deploy it, these are important questions. They are. But they are not the fundamental one. The fundamental question we must answer at the outset is, what exactly are we defending? Because armies do not fight for abstractions. Armies fight for a people. Armies fight for a nation. Armies fight for a way of life. And that is what we are defending. A great civilization that has every reason to be proud of its history. National security, which this conference is largely about, is not merely a series of...
What do you think, fam?
I mean, he's not addressing anything remotely negative about our history in the United States. And I don't expect him to, because he thinks, everything we do and everything Israel does is justified because we're a great civilization. That's his point of view. That's how he thinks. And I wonder to myself, does he actually believe what he's saying? And I actually do think that he does. I think he genuinely believes in what he's saying. He genuinely, it's all he has. It's all he is. It's who he is. He is this hateful imperialist that thinks that everything that the United States has done is justified because it has rendered into what the United States is, and everything else doesn't matter. And all the people that you've killed, all the bombs that were dropped, all the innocents that died, those are all collateral damage. He's not saying that he's essentially saying that by justifying colonialism, by justifying imperialism, and by saying that, blaming the victims. That's what he's doing.
Yeah. And the very end, he gets a standing ovation, fam. Christ is king. You can see the comment that the person made. Jayme, put it up so I can read the comment first before the video. MAGA voice, I am in tears. And this is a lot of MAGA folk were like this too as well. Secretary Marco Rubio just got a standing ovation in Germany after saying Europe needs to move back to Jesus Christ and against migration. Everybody knows it's true. Christ is king. No, MAGA voice, whatever. We don't believe it's true and that migration is bad and Christ is king and should be involved in our politics. It shouldn't. You can be a Catholic, you can be a Christian, you can be a lover, you can be whatever you want. It shouldn't be involved in our discourse of politics. Here we go. Everybody, fam. Saying it was one of the greatest speech. Good for you. Yeah. And you can see how religion is weaponized, right? Like, if Jesus was here, I don't think he'd be approving of that speech. I think Jesus would say, yeah, right.
No, you're right. You're right. That's what I wanted to say. Like, how do you say Christ is king and talk about Christianity after you've literally just said that all these people deserve to die, deserve to be conquered, that colonialism is good, that, babies that Israel killed, it's all Hamas's fault. How do you sit there and talk about Christ is king? Like, this is my problem with the religious bullshit coming from the likes of Marco Rubio and his ilk, is they talk about Christianity as a concept, but in reality, they can't for the life of them actually be decent people, decent Christians. They don't even know what it is. It's just like this concept that they think, it's like praying and saying Christ is king gives them the idea that they're somehow Christians. There's absolutely nothing Christian about what the United States and Israel have been doing for the last 30 years or so, at the very least. Zero Christianity in that. They're killing Christians in Syria, They're killing Alawites because of our actions. They're killing Christians in Palestine. They're going after their own people, but it doesn't matter because, as long as they say Christ is king and they can go on and talk about how we need Christian values and all this shit, there's zero Christian values in the behavior of any of these people whatsoever. I'm more Christian as a non-practicing Catholic than any of these people will ever be.
Yeah, I agree. And fam, so this leads to the question is, after hearing that speech, the way he set the table, the way he talked about, empires being built and pretty much open about colonialization, what do you think about this? What are the odds that this happens now? Go ahead, Jayme. Throw it up. U.S. preparing for a sustained weeks-long war against Iran if Trump orders the attack. Fam, what do you think? I mean, is it possible now that this is really... I mean, it seems like they're setting the table for this. I don't know. But what are your thoughts? I mean, it definitely seems like he's open to going to war with Iran.
Yeah, I mean, I think the U.S. is open to go to war with Iran if they can somehow finagle a deal with the liberal president and his end of the spectrum. They're going to try for that. If they feel like they can somehow take this and extend it and ignore that, they will, because they know that the disruption coming from this is actually going to potentially hurt the economy because of Iran's position. And Iran is a major player, not just for oil and for gas, but also for countries like Russia and China that are actually trying to mitigate some sort of diplomatic resolution to this, because they will be economically affected as well with a potential war. And Israel has always been using Russia as a way to kind of finagle some sort of diplomatic action, diplomatic truce between Iran and the United States and Israel. The problem is that there's nothing that's going to ultimately change the course of what Iran means for both the resistance and for Israel. Once Iran is out of the way, if they get Iran out of the way, they will have nothing to stop them from expanding. Israel will be able to fully expand into the entire region. The reason Iran has been targeted is because that is the ultimate goal, for Israel to expand into the region. So if you notice, they targeted Syria, they've been targeting Lebanon, they've targeted Gaza. Well, now once all that's left, and they've been targeting Iran, they've been releasing these radicals in Iran to kind of offset the attention away from the resistance uniting. Because there are resistance factions in Iraq, and the latest, of course, political alignment has been with the resistance in Iraq. The United States still has military bases in Iraq, still occupies it. I was there, I saw them. And so what we're seeing here is the United States is trying to exhaust all avenues. If they can't force Tehran to do what they want, and they've failed time and time again in regime change via the human rights violations bullshit, even using Mossad, they failed. The only thing left is for them to go to war with Iran and hope that Iran is not going to respond, that they can finagle something, that they'll back off. And as I said, there is a war within Iran between the resistance factions, the Ayatollah, and then the factions that want to find some solution with the United States, which is absolute idiocy. And be aware that China and Russia will be there to find some sort of diplomatic end to this. China more so for the economic aspect of it, and Russia both for the economic and Israeli aspect of it. So yeah, I think it's very possible.
I don't know why, but my Twitter is not working on my computer. I wanted to pull something up, but we'll just stick to the doc for now. So the reason why I like to talk all about that, fam, is that, we have all these things going on with our foreign policy. We have these Epstein files going on. But remember that when Donald Trump, Make America Great, was running and whatnot, a lot of the conservatives, Dan Bongino, Benny Johnson, all of them, they were complaining that they were getting censored. And then we had the whole Twitter files, which pretty much made it look like conservatives were getting punished, not, anti-establishment people like ourselves. They really wanted to do that. And when Donald Trump came in, we're going to restore that. We're going to no longer use the State Department to we would not justify the State Department spying on us for whatever reasons and whatnot. But take a look at this right over here, fam. This has been making the rounds. Go ahead, Jayme. Throw it on up. Jayme, you got it? Homeland Security wants social media sites to expose anti-ICE accounts. Department is sending Google, Meta, and other companies hundreds of subpoenas for information on accounts that track or comment on immigration and customs enforcement officials and tech workers said. So the Trump Department's Homeland Security is now asking all these social media companies to give people information on people talking shit on ICE. I'm going to say that again.
It was just about the immigrants.
Homeland Security wants social media sites. Now, and a lot of Trump people, these are domestic terrorists. They'll do the same thing that was done to them. Don't you see? They just take turn going against what the perceived enemy of the government is at the time from the party who's in. So when Donald Trump is not in office and Joe Biden is in office, it was all the people who, didn't believe in abortion, who thought 9/11 was false. You know what I'm saying? They were calling you people on the right, the Trump people, domestic terrorists. And people on the left went along with it. Yeah, go after those people. Use the spying powers. Now the shoe's on the other foot, and they're going after the opposite people. And they're going to continue to do this. The fact that their either department is going after anybody, its citizens, spying on them, pissing and shitting all over their civil liberties, and you're cheerleading it on is fucking sad. So if you're a Trumper and you're okay with this, just because you don't agree with those anti-ICE people, you need to seek some therapy because this is fucked up. And if you don't believe that when the other side is in power, that they're going to do it to you, you're just stupid because they've done it before in the past and they'll do it again. We must be principled across the board. The State Department, Homeland Security, ICE, whatever, they can't infringe on our civil liberties. They're going to do things by the book. Per the Constitution, no matter what it is. And don't go along and justify it and cheerlead for it because when the shoe's on the other foot, what the fuck are you going to do? And that's why I say the social engineers know what they're doing. It's an attack on all of us. All of us. When you think for a second that Donald Trump was the lesser of two evils, better than Joe Biden and the Democrats because he's less anti-woke, right? Oh, he's less anti-woke. He's not as woke. Okay, whatever, right? He's going to be more for your civil liberties and all that. No, he's not. You can't justify it. And if you're not principled, they'll get all our shit. And then that's what they're doing. Like Fiorella talked about, ICE on the streets was not about the immigrant. It was about using the software to put us all on the grid. And Catherine Austin Fitts talked about this. Donald Trump is still going through with the real IDs. At the airport, can't fly unless you have a passport or a real ID. Why? With the real IDs, it's track and trace. And they're telling you to get those real IDs because immigrants can't get that. And with the SAVE Act or the SAFE Act, whatever the fuck it is, where they want to make sure that everybody's using an ID, what difference does it make if they can have 75% of the votes coming from mail-ins and there's ballot harvesting? Your fucking IDs do shit. Yes, it's a problem, and we see IDs needed in Nicaragua and Colombia and all these countries we go to, but it's not the only problem, and it's not the biggest problem when it comes to elections, but yet they're going to scare you with immigrants voting to put you on the grid. Wake up and lock in. Go ahead, fam.
I mean, this has been around for a while. The information that the DHS has been collecting using these specific Israeli-backed technologies to collect data from all people has already been out there. Now they're just doing it with the law being more open and out, right? And people are, as Pasta said, justifying it because they're using the immigrant thing. And again, this is the era that we're in where people are justifying it. But I actually do think that a lot of people that were perhaps on the left that didn't really care about the stuff are actually starting to look into it now. Now that it's on them, they're starting to look into it. And so we're going to be going back and forth like this until finally everybody gets the picture. But unfortunately, by that time, it might be too late. You know, if you look at the Epstein files, and we'll talk about that, this has a lot to do with that. This technology, this spying on people, this using their own words against them, that mechanism within the Epstein files that was used is very, very much related and aligned with our government and how they've been conducting themselves in regards to any opinion you may have on social media. It is already prevalent in the UK, for example, where they have like social media police for anything. Right now in the UK, a lot of the people that feel targeted are conservatives, but then it came after the Palestinian protesters, the activists who were speaking out against Israel and everything Israel was doing. So it doesn't matter what position you have on whatever issue. Ultimately, they're going to use it against everybody as long as it becomes legal, as long as they can justify it. It's not going to go away once it's here. That's the point. So no matter who comes in next, whatever issue it is, whether it's Russians or whatever the case is, they're going to use it to create lists that they already have, more and more lists of people, and putting them and categorizing them as specific threats. How threatening you are depends on how you can live your life, right? How much you can say on social media, whether you're allowed to have a YouTube or not, whether you're allowed to have a TikTok or not. There's this idea that it's about how many people care about like what you're saying. It's not just about that. It's how much of a threat you are to the establishment. If you can actually rally people to question things at the top more so than, the left, right. This is why you see channels that focus more on like the party politics have better algorithms and be pushed in more, that focus more on the divide and conquer aspect of things. But when you try to focus more on the unity, on the aspect of the government as a whole, of the structure, of class consciousness, of issues of all the people versus the 1%, then you become a threat. And when you talk about things like surveillance and all of that, and connect it to imperialism, and you connect it to all of these things, and you connect it to the COVID agenda, and you connect it to pretty much everything that's going on, then there is a danger on that, especially if there is some elevation in your voice. So what can I say? This is just part of the phase that we're headed into, fam, unfortunately.
And to tell you the truth, fam, on the day of the mass rally in Minnesota, the big rally, 100,000 people got in the streets. I did want to ask and push back against some Democrats, and I was kind of told, don't do that today. Let's just, do whatever. But I wanted to ask, I wanted to ask first, how did you feel about mandates with COVID? Knowing that about 75-80% of those people out there would probably say, yeah, I'm for mandates. We got to watch out and take care of our neighbor. I was going to say, well, are you for a federal force that would be okay in enforcing those mandates? What about anti-Second Amendment? Would you be for a force that would come around and collect your guns? In other words, we as citizens have to be consistent too as well. We know damn well that a lot of those people in the streets who are anti-ICE and stuff like that would be okay with a federal task force that was coming by to make sure that your shots were mandated, that you were still taking it, or if they had a gun collecting, if they tweaked the Second Amendment to no assault rifles and they want to go out and get it, that they would be okay, those people on the left, with having a federal force do that. So we need to be consistent across the boards, right? So I don't want to just sit here and pick on conservatives that are going along with this shit right now, that are the ones that are going along with this because they think the ends justify the means because of who they're going after. Like I said, you're unprincipled and you need to get your head straight. Same thing with the left. If you're against federal forces doing some stuff to go out there and uphold an immigration policy, you better be against the federal force going out there to come collect guns or to make sure that you have your shot. Those are the things you have to think about. We need to be principled across the board. Guys, we have a Give, Send, Go up. Unless, fam, did you have anything else to say about that last section? I'm so sorry. I thought
Go ahead.
Yeah, we have a Give, Send, Go up. If you guys haven't checked it out, go ahead and check it out. Here it is. And Jayme, we can put the real one up, but that's the real independent journalism and election news. We're at 13 people right now, $885, guys. Thank you so much. This is going to be our go-to place for raising funds to go to other countries to observe elections, to hit the ground for a rally or something, whatnot. You know, we're gonna take it as an as we go kind of process. But right now is a great start, guys. If you can help out in any way, it would be awesome. I just wanted to read some of the last couple names. Anonymous Giver gave $50. Was the last person to donate. As I'm going to put that up on the board real quick. Thank you so much to the anonymous giver who wants to remain anonymous. With deep gratitude for your integrity, hardworking, and demonstrating humanity. Thank you so much for doing so. Fam, do you have anything else you want to say about this while I get the other things ready real quick?
Yeah, well, you know, guys, we are demonetized. I have had my YouTube channel taken down, and I haven't gotten it back. Other people have gotten theirs back. We aren't getting any answers on our monetization. We have had just a hell of a last few years, personally, both of us, and we've just been so completely censored. Like, even on X, like, I should have way more people watching, but of course, everything I do, it's entirely censored. I'm not allowed to TikTok. I don't post on Instagram, because if I start posting, I'll probably get my Instagram taken down. I'm not allowed to basically have anything. And so the only thing I do have is my Substack right now, and I do have a YouTube channel with Vanessa. But what I'm trying to say is we are completely censored. Specifically, like anything that I do is taken off on any of these, like, Instagram, TikTok type of things. And that's political. And so it really, this is the only way that we're able to fund the kind of work we want to do, which isn't just on elections, but we focus a lot on foreign policy and imperialism. And Pasta has done a few documentaries, and I want to do more documentaries related to what's happening now. And, you know, I've been lucky to travel all over the world and seen so many of the consequences of empire, basically, you know, and especially in West Asia and the Middle East, and in Donbass, and in Latin America. So I think there is a different kind of perspective that you get, which is you get the ground perspective. We've been on the ground both domestically inside the United States and also outside the United States. But there's also the understanding of how things work, following the money, of paying attention to technocratic surveillance issues that other people on the left don't pay attention to, paying attention to Epstein from long ago, paying attention to COVID and the repercussions of that, of what COVID has done for a lot of people in terms of, you know, heart attacks, cancers, all of these things that have happened because of the shots. And putting all that together, we offer a very, very unique, I think, lacking perspective in media that is normally relegated to either the right or the left. And while I consider myself ideologically on the left, I don't agree with their stance on things like COVID, on things like completely just falling in line with the security state apparatus and not paying attention to surveillance. And I think it is important we make them aware of this stuff. And I think more people are becoming aware of it because of ICE, because of what ICE has been doing. But it's a slow progress, right? And when it comes to the right, we'll always talk to them. We'll always be able to engage in dialogue to counter their points in a way that isn't hyper focused on insults, which I think a lot of channels thrive on that, on insulting and yelling and screaming. And, you know, we can all do that very well. I mean, anybody can do that. But when you actually try to really present a counter argument that is factual, that is backed by evidence that is actually logical, then you can really do something. And I don't think a lot of these people will change their minds. I don't even think that's the goal. But the goal is for people to hear that there are other ways of doing things, that there is another way other than killing everybody and, you know, pretty much taking over the world, and for the United States to do that and for everybody to suffer, including American citizens who are in dire straits right now. We know in the United States things have gone from bad to worse each year, and they're getting just so much worse. So that's why, if you can support us,
Please do.
please do, because we do need it, and we will, of course, return the favor when it comes to the issues you want to talk about as well.
GiveSendGo.com/election integrity matters. But we're more than this. That obviously we want to cover a lot of other things. But we do want to go to these elections too as well. Peru being the first one. And if you donate, we're going to put your name up there. It's kind of cool. Look at this. Christopher Dobby, $15. Thank you. 2 days ago. And that Godspeed, he says. Sharon Janice, $100. No comment. Doesn't need one. That's a ba-boom, ba-bang. You got some type of thing you could put up there, Jayme, as far as a sound effect or something, or no? Nothing? And everything this guy says is bullshit. Okay. We also have Eric for $10. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. And guys, you know, to go help on out, please go to GiveSendGo.com/election integrity matters. Of course, we will read your comments. Go over there and leave $5, $2. And here's the thing: if you can't leave anything, just go ahead and share it. There's a big share button there. Only 5 people have gone and shared it. If everybody in the chat now on YouTube alone, there's over 100 people, we'd have 105 shares. We'd have a lot of help, and we wouldn't be able to stop thanking you because it would be so awesome. And it's been awesome so far. So do us a favor, go over there and share it. If you can't give anything, share it. That's always the best way to help out. Fam, next section, let's get to it. You got a lot of things to say, especially when it comes to your girl, AOCIA, right? Please get into it.
Right. So, you know, just like we have Marco Rubio on the right, pretty much talking about how great colonialism is, you have the counter to Marco Rubio, the supposed hope on the for the American progressives, for the U.S. progressives that are saying, oh my God, we're so done with Trump. We're so done with the conservatives. This is so terrible. Just like people were saying, we're so done with Biden. We need something else. Well, the whole point is to pretty much give you the solution to Marco Rubio, to Donald Trump, and AOC, and Kamala Harris, and Gavin Newsom. And we know, we can smell it. We know that this is what they're trying to do, especially AOC. There's a lot of polls showing that she is a favorite to run in a few years, and she will be old enough to be able to do it. And the thing is, a lot of people underestimate how disliked Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is by people outside of the idiots who fall for her bullshit. Like, she is really, really hard to like. And this is coming from people who we once were at a fundraiser for her, right? We organized a fundraiser for her. We once thought that she was, you know, when we were Bernie supporters, that she was going to be the one to really promote a lot of this stuff. And we quickly saw that wasn't the case. She made it pretty quick with her foreign policy. A lot of the exposure with AOC came with her stances on Bolivia, on the Bolivian coup, with her stances on Venezuela, especially Venezuela. That one has given her away the most, and her stance, of course, on Cuba. You can always tell a liberal from an actual anti-imperialist on how they act towards Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua. And AOC gave herself away rather quickly with all of this. So she also appeared at the Munich conference, and she has intensified the speculation that she might be running. And she also said a lot of really, really shitty bullshit things that made her sound like a combination of Barack Obama, John McCain, and pretty much any other warmonger you can think of. So she was asked, when you run for president, are you going to impose a wealth tax or a billionaire tax? Because they're trying to highlight how progressive she is, how she's going to tax the rich and all this bullshit. Remember her dress? And she said, I don't think that anyone, and that we don't have to wait for anyone president to impose a wealth tax. I think it needs to be done expeditiously. And so all of these liberals were saying how great she was doing, how wonderful she is. And she basically went on to talk about how, you know, the Republicans are racist. They attack the values of America. They attack the transatlantic partnership, rip apart democratic norms. And she specifically said this. She said, the majority of Americans are ready to walk away from a rules-based order. That does not mean, in talking about the Atlantic Partnership, that the majority of Americans are ready to walk away from a rules-based order, that we are ready to walk away from democracy. I think people are asking her where she stands on these issues because they're looking for the continuity they hope will return with a new president. So a lot of the people that watched her, specifically at this conference, were saying that she is really highlighting on the liberal democratic values, and she really targeted Trump for a lot of things. But at the same time, she was talking about, you know, going back to the liberal ideals of it. And she really represents the Obama-esque very essence of that brand, right? Just a lot of decorative talking, a lot of like pro-democracy BS and all of this stuff. But in reality, it's the same type of imperialism. And I kind of tweeted about it yesterday because here are some of the things she said. Let's just go ahead and watch the first video of what she said. And I said, the problem with Washington is that you either get lying Zionist pedophiles promoting war or lying Zionist idiot baby killers with rainbow stickers promoting war. And AOC represents the rainbow stickers that are promoting war. Hear what she says about Russia, Ukraine here, and tell me if it's any different.
There's no conversation about Ukraine that can happen without Ukraine. And so they, of course, lead in terms of setting their terms on this. But I think that overall, as a principle, we shouldn't reward imperialism. And I don't think that we should allow Russia to continue, or any nation to continue violating a nation's sovereignty, and to continue to be rewarded, and whose main lesson and takeaway is that they will gain. And so what that looks like in the specifics, I think, is a deeper conversation. But on principle, I think that is what we should be pursuing. There's no conversation about...
Sam, a couple of things I want to hit here. She highlights the point that a lot of the time Zelensky and the pro-Ukrainian groups make, that the conversation needs to be had with Ukraine, and blah, 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 Ukraine's a victim here. Like, she constantly talks about that. And she also talks about imperialism. And this is why AOC is so dangerous, because less educated, less knowledgeable, maybe younger people who hear her say we shouldn't promote imperialism, right? Who hear her say we shouldn't be promoting any country from committing imperialism, and then talks about Russia, are saying, wow, at least she's talking about we shouldn't be pushing imperialism. But what they're failing to understand is that that's exactly what we're doing by backing and pushing and orchestrating the Russia-Ukraine war, because the Russia-Ukraine war is really the Russia-United States NATO war using Ukraine as a proxy. And everybody knows that by now. And the fact is that she's a sitting congresswoman and she can't get into the specifics of the Russia-Ukraine war. And yes, she might be an idiot and she doesn't have the knowledge, but it's also because if she got into the specifics, she would get into a hole, because we all know that the United States orchestrated this war back in 2014 by intervening in the sovereignty of Ukraine by removing their democratically elected leader Yanukovych and replacing him. So if she can't say that because she can't defend that because she's talking against imperialism, because it's that very imperialism that we're doing and we did back then in favor of using Ukraine as a proxy to destroy Russia's sovereignty, is the entire reason why we're even having this discussion. So one, she's an idiot. She doesn't know everything, but also two, she's at least smart enough to not go down that route because she knows that she can't defend the imperialist actions of the United States in supporting Ukraine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is an audition tape for her, fam. She's trying to see if we the ruling class is trying to see if she could get to Obama level, right? Could she sound wholehearted like he did, like, oh, I think imperialism is bad. Meanwhile, what you're really doing is you're overtly, not overtly, covertly pushing imperialism, American imperialism, by saying you're stopping other countries from advancing their imperialism. That's what the task, what she has to do, right? And, in her first part of her career, she has plenty of time. Learn how to win over and talk to the progressives. Learn how to get them on your side. Learn how to deal with all that stuff. Like, I don't know if you remember her when she got questioned about something and she just responded, well, let me answer that. You can't just talk about it. You got to be about it. Like, she completely misstepped the question when she was cornered about, hey, you and the Democrats are doing X, Y, and Z. She would say stuff like that, and she's learning how to navigate. So now this is the second part. How do you get those left-leaning independents, right, to get them to follow you and stuff? The ones that you've already kind of brought along. We know you're going to always have them. How do you get these other people? How do you convince the masses of people in the United States, to be pro-imperialist without sounding pro-imperialist? You know what I'm saying? That's what she's doing right now, and that's the task she has in front of her. You got to give her props. She is growing. She wouldn't even be able to go to these conferences before in the past. She was so far behind on foreign policy, but that's because the left is behind on foreign policy. I mean, the left is still going out there and blaming Putin for things, and you got idiot like Bill Maher and all these other people who just talk as if Putin's the worst thing since the demons have been invented. So I mean, she is advancing the ball down the field for herself. But people who know what's going on are always going to hate her, and people who know that she's full of shit are going to know she's full of shit. But she's improving, fam. She's improving in her craft.
I thought that was actually really bad. I thought she
sounded
not secure. Yeah. No. I'm not even talking about the subject. Of course, she's terrible in that, but I'm talking about her presentation. She sounded unsure. She sounded uneasy. To me, she doesn't have the Obama-esque type of confidence, but she's better than Kamala Harris because my lamp is better than Kamala Harris. I mean, the bar is not high. So she really doesn't have to do much to sound like a decent person. And the fact is you have Marco Rubio they're promoting colonialism. So to people who don't get it, she sounds like a better shit sandwich than the other shit sandwich that was there with no salad dressing. That was just their straight up shit sandwich. At least she's talking about, hey, we shouldn't do imperialism. That's a step up because people have such low expectations and the bar is set so low. But really, she didn't sound secure. She sounded like she was unsure of what she was saying. She didn't sound knowledgeable enough on the subject. She went from a 0 to perhaps like a 1.5 or a 2. But I think that's unfortunately enough for some people because of the state of affairs that we're in. So
the best she could do moving forward right now, right? The best she could do moving forward right now is get herself to be the vice president. Can she was smart enough to get to that vice president spot? I think that's the big clue right now. They might go, okay, you're not ready to be the vice president. We'll move you to the senator. But she's practicing her craft and she's trying to get better on it.
So she continued, and this is where she always exposes herself, ironically, as a terrible house Latina, because she really always does it with Venezuela. So AOC said on Venezuela, it is not a remark on who Maduro was as a leader. He canceled elections. False. He was an anti-democratic leader. That doesn't mean that we can kidnap a head of state and engage in acts of war just because the nation is below the equator. Venezuela is above the equator, but okay, I'll let that slide. I said the role of polished liberals like AOC is to project nuanced composure while advancing the same genocidal imperialism, all under a veil of civility and reform. And what I mean by that is she's supposed to sound better than Trump, more composed, more logical, more humane. And that's why she's so dangerous. With Marco Rubio, you hear what he says and you're like, oh my God, this guy's a demon. How dare he say this? With her, you hear what she says and she's like, okay, she's saying we shouldn't have kidnapped Maduro. But at the end, the end result is she's still saying that he was not a democratic leader. He was a brutal dictator. He canceled elections. And she's lying about all of this, by the way. He didn't cancel elections. And she's trying to present this as civil and reform based, when in reality, it's the same result. It's the same things. They will still do the same exact thing, achieve the same outcome, but they just dress it up nicely. And I said it all ends up the same with the inevitable bomb drops, a smile, and a fist bump at tea time before the twist of the dagger. And I always find that liberals, and often these reformist progressives, are the worst and the impediment to any sort of revolution or any sort of substantiative change, if you want to say that, to the current structure, because they grab people who think, oh, at least this is better than what we have, and it's not, and it's a trick, and it's dangerous. That's why I hate it so much.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Play the video.
Yeah.
And by the way, Rubio and the Trump administration left Maduro's regime intact. And so even whatever moralizing they have about it, they're just as much a culprit in ignoring the election results as anybody else. But also, you know, we have to understand that when they come for one, they come for us all.
Okay, that was the right video, right? Because that might be the next one, but it's okay. I want to highlight that she did say she went after Donald Trump for leaving the Chavistas in power. Perhaps with her, we would have gotten Maria Corina Machado, and things would have been even worse. We don't know, because perhaps we would have gotten another Juan Guaido-esque type of character. She's going after Trump not from the left. She's going after Trump from the right. She's saying you should have gotten rid of the entirety of the Chavistas. You left his regime. She called it a regime. She called a regime from the guy that was kidnapped after they bombed his country. They kidnapped the sitting president, bombed his country, killed several people, Cubans and others who were protecting him. And they also took his wife, who was just his wife. And now he's sitting in prison, and she's chastising Trump for not getting rid of the entirety of the government and toppling the whole government. How do you sit there as a so-called progressive and even say the word progressive? Like, that's not even remotely close to progressive. She's literally saying you should have done more to get rid of all these people and change the complete government. So how does she go from we shouldn't impose imperialism and I don't support imperialism to literally pushing imperialism on the next topic? I mean, this is how you catch these people, because they're not fucking consistent. If there was consistency, it would be easy for her to go from one subject to the next and be like, yeah, we shouldn't be promoting imperialism. We need to end this war. We need to allow Ukraine to resolve its issues and Russia to resolve its issues. We should stay away from this. We should completely end the war. And we should also stop interfering in other countries. What Donald Trump did was wrong. He should not have kidnapped a sitting president. It's a violation of international law. It is a violation of the UN Charter. It's a violation of a country's national sovereignty. I don't support imperialism. Donald Trump should not have done that. And he should return Maduro to his people for him to be judged by his people. If that is the case, Venezuelans should decide what they should want. We shouldn't be imposing ourselves on any country. And that's what a normal anti-imperialist would say. It's very easy. If that's what you are, you easily follow that. But that's not what she's doing.
Yeah. By the way, we want to say thank you to LT Oracle of the Truth. Gave us $10 on a Rumble rant. Thank you for our Rumble people over there. Keep it up. We win in the end. Yeah, fam. I thought that was very entertaining what AOC was doing. Because she said the regime whatnot attacking from the left, and we've seen that a lot lately when it comes to foreign policy. There's not one Democrat in the House, not one in the Senate that wants to end the war in Ukraine, Russia. They are all anti-Russia, which means they are pro-imperialist, and they argue that they are anti-imperialist because they say they're trying to stop Putin from being a pro-imperialist because he wants to expand. And we all know that's not the truth. That Vladimir Putin drug his feet, or the government drug his feet to get involved over there, despite people in Moscow and people in Russia saying, "Hey, man, ethnic Russians are getting slaughtered in the Donbass. Maybe you want to get involved." Took him a while. He tried to go through Minsk 1, Minsk 2. He did not want to expand the Soviet Union, the old Soviet Union, as people say. So we have that going on. Let's get to the next part of this clip, by the way. Fam, what do you got next?
Well, it's the same. I think it's the same clip, but I just wanted to reiterate that AOC would be the Obama-esque type of character, because she would end up dropping the same bombs. She would end up doing the same thing. It would just be done with better words. And she's not, again, as eloquent as Obama was.
She's
and
not
as
as good
charismatic.
as Buttigieg either, fam. She's not as good as Buttigieg right now. He's more, I mean, and the thing is, yeah, he's not a Latin woman, but he's gay. So he does have that going for him. And Buttigieg, we've asked Buttigieg questions before, and he went right into the bullshit. Better than others, better than Cory Booker, better than Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang, I think we showed that he was not a serious threat when we started asking him questions. He kept on stuttering and stumbling. Kamala Harris did too as well. But these people are not, the most seasoned right now is Mondami. So it's a shame that the Democrats, for them, it's a shame for them that they can't run him for president, because he's very Obama-esque. In fact, I think he's better than Obama right now. But, you know, AOC is trying to work her way there, fam. You can see she's more steady with her hands and whatnot and everything. So, you know, it sucks for people who knows what's going on, but for the mainstream people and for the people who are searching for their confirmation bias, she does have a lot of people who hate her, right? And those people are not going to vote for a Democrat anyways, but she does have a lot of people who love her. So I think they're trying to see if they can capitalize on it. This is a big step for her, fam. You should be more supportive.
She has a lot of people.
Yeah, it's like a bigger role. Right?
She has a lot of people on the left who will do everything in her power to make sure she fails, because she's absolutely represents the worst of what should be like the left, of what should be a counter to the neocons. She's not a counter to it. She's a complete and total invitation to it, because people will run away from her to go to the neocons, or they will fall for her, and then eventually we will get the same neocon outcome. So we have a standing ovation for a war criminal next. So I don't know. Did you put this in there, Sam?
What is it?
Standing ovation for a war criminal.
Oh,
Obama.
Yeah, because I wanted to show, because this is the thing we were talking about. The theme of the whole story of the show today, right, was that the left is going to be coming around, and they're going to be looking like the good ones. Once again, fam said AOC is one of her jobs was to look better than Trump, right? Look more pure, more wholesome, whatnot. And I know this. A lot of people are the lefties are like, Donald Trump must hate the fact that Obama's getting applause like this. But it is scary to me where this guy, who's a war criminal, at the end of the day, when they say, who would you rather take, Trump or Obama? Neither. Gun to the head, gun go off, right? Chase Oliver said that. Gun go off. Neither one. Obama is still a fucking war criminal. We have Syria. We have Libya. We have freaking Honduras. We have so many fucking things that come with Obama. He did the same thing that Trump did for the behest of Israel, except he just wasn't out there bragging, going, beautiful, beautiful Israel. Here he is getting applause at the NBA All-Star game. I just wanted to put that in there. It's just kind of sad in a way, fam. it really is upsetting that he's getting applause like this. Now I know they picked the proper spot, the sweet spot. NBA All-Star game. Let's do that. Even LeBron James was saying stuff, kind of bragging about Israel. Here, I've heard nothing but good things about Israel, he said. Right.
Where have you been living under a rock?
Yeah.
Like, if you've heard nothing but good things.
He says, I've heard nothing but good things was the final thing he said. Because somebody was saying we have fans out there and whatnot and all this stuff. And he goes, I've never been there, but maybe one day I can go there. I've heard nothing but good things.
And by the way, Obama went on an interview and was talking about Bad Buddy and how great it was to see, Puerto Rico, excuse me, I got something in my throat. Puerto Rico go on and Latinos be blah, 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 remembered, and unity and all that shit. Like, he literally enacted the Promesa Act, which destroyed Puerto Rico.
Yeah. Yeah. God bless you, fam. We also have another Rumble rant. We got to look at these Rumble rant goings. I don't think I've ever collected a Rumble rant. I got to figure out how to get it done. But we do have a Rumble rant. Guys, we're going to also put up really quickly, Jayme, if you can go ahead and throw up our, and this is from Angelo $1. Thank you so much. Cussing up a storm is always appreciated on the couch, fam. So nice to see my favorite couch potatoes back with their based opinions.
Oh, God.
Okay, we're here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 12:30 p.m. And remember, when you give a donation, whether it be on our Give, Send, Go or our Rumble or our YouTube, fam, it's always appreciated.
Oh, God.
That's what they want, fam. But you got to give the people what they want.
No couch.
So, guys, if you guys want to see me torment Fiorella the whole show, hit us up on this Give, Send, Go. Guys, only 5 shares. Please go over there and do some shares for us. At the very least, help us out with a share. It don't cost no money to share. So please share. And thank you, Angelo, for jumping on in there. So we do have a couple more sections, fam. I know that you were big and you're a little upset because your favorite forum leader, Milei, is really falling face first into the ground, fam.
I'm not upset about that. I'm actually really happy. But I know Pasta was being sarcastic. Look, Milei is a supposed libertarian, and Pasta said, no, he's not a real libertarian. I beg to differ. The idea of libertarianism is exactly that. It's deregulation. The government completely cuts down on the welfare programs, social backing programs, and that's exactly what Milei did. He completely gutted everything. And I'm going to explain to people how, when you have an argument with a pro-Milei or libertarian or conservative of what that's going to say, oh well, but the inflation has been reduced, oh but poverty is being cut, how you can present this argument to them in a different way. And I wanted to educate people on this today because I posted this and it sort of went viral. And a lot of people are so mad at me for pointing this out. A lot of angry Milei people, Americans, of course, who support Milei, who see him as, the Donald Trump of Argentina and who say he's great. He's a Zionist, by the way, kissing the Wailing Wall. And I said, breaking, socialism failed once again in Argentina. Just kidding. It was ultra greedy capitalism gutting nearly all social programs, austerity measures, putting in 12-hour workdays, zero worker rights, the IMF, and Zionist deep learning. This is a video of basically a bunch of people protesting, a lot of union members, but also in general people protesting, and they've been protesting now for days. And they're, that's more of a riot at that point, right? Like the conservatives are saying, oh, that's rioting. But behind them, you can see the unions that are protesting. So why are the unions protesting? The unions are protesting because Milei is advancing a new law. And it's a neoliberal labor reform that is going to basically take away workers' rights, to put it simply, right? All right, can you turn that down, Jayme? I'm going to go over the next article, the article from People's Dispatch. So a lot of people are saying, well, why, if you want to work 12 hours, you should be able to work 12 hours. That's not the point. That's literally not the point. So this new law increases daily working hours. It does weaken the unions. It reduces corporate liability. It's also going to take away the vacation days, the mandatory vacation days, right? So the article talks about, because it's People's Dispatch, it's talking about it from a left perspective, right? But basically, he's accelerating this neoliberal agenda, and this is an approval of a labor reform, which it still has to be approved further, but it's really, really going to not benefit the workers. It's going to benefit like the corporate class, right? And he said in a statement, an official statement, after years of labor litigation that benefited a few, excessive bureaucracy and outdated regulations in the face of profound economic and technological changes, we are now facing a profound transformation that restores predictability, dynamism, and freedom to the labor market. The opposition has categorically rejected the decision of the presidency and the Senate. The governor of Buenos Aires said during the massive demonstrations against reform, he said, if severance pay, overtime, and vacation time, everything that has been won overtime, are put at risk, it will not improve the situation of the worker. We are surrounded by a crowd that is doing what needs to be done, demonstrating to express that workers' rights are at stake. For his part, the left-wing Congressman Nicolas del Caño affirmed the labor reform does not create jobs or benefit any workers. It is a slave-like labor reform. And so they're calling on people to continue to organize this, right? And basically what it does is it reduces the cost of layoffs. So now it'll be cheaper for these people at the top to lay you off in Argentina. It allows the working day to be increased to 12 hours, which means that you don't have to necessarily work to 12 hours. You could work less, but it allows them the right to be able to do that. And it says there's going to be the reduction of contributions that companies must pay to cover other matters like Social Security. Companies will deduct 1 to 2.5% of workers' salaries for the Labor Assistance Fund. So, like, in other words, the companies are no longer going to pay the cost of the layoffs. That cost is going to be now put on the workers. So basically, you're going to pay for them to fire you. And also, they will stop paying overtime and compensate workers with days off or reduce working hours. So they can just say, okay, well, you're not going to get paid overtime. You're just going to get paid regular, or you're just going to work less or have time off. Vacations can now be spread throughout the year, not in the summer. And then this is the biggest one, I think, is absolute lunacy. Wages can now be paid in any currency, kind, food, or lodging. So instead of being paid in like the money that you are normally paid in, they can just pay you in food or lodging. I don't understand how that is in any way, shape, or form progressive. And the last thing is the unions, right? The unions have less of precedence in terms of having collective bargaining power. This happened in the United States in terms of the unions. The unions are basically useless in the United States. And we know that when unions go down, the workers don't have a defense of rights, of getting paid time off, getting healthcare, getting all of that. And so basically the unions have to essentially guarantee everything, and the unions are going to have to pay for everything that the companies were forced to pay for, instead of just offering them protections when they didn't have them. So again, this is why a lot of people have gone out and protested, right? And that's why I also put out this next tweet. If you can bring that up, Jayme. It's the video of the police. So the police have been basically repressing the people who are protesting. And look at these police. They're heavily armed with guns. And I said, once again, breaking riots in Cuba's streets. False. It's Argentina and Milei Zio fascist police forces repressing people protesting against his failed labor reforms. The U.S. supported Argentina with billions, by the way, if you guys recall. Trump gave billions to Milei and is now barring Cuba from oil. Who are the terrorists? So this looks like something that would happen in the United States, that has happened with ICE, right? This is happening in Argentina. I kind of want to go to Argentina. I don't know. I'm kind of tempted since I'm quite close. Yeah. And you know, the thing is, when a lot of people came onto my comment section and were saying you're an idiot, that Milei has done wonderful things. He's turned down inflation. There is a reduction in unemployment. He inherited this from the terrible socialism, blah, 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 that the country was in. But let me actually explain why that doesn't translate to actually the majority of people eradicating poverty. Jayme, if you can put a picture of that in our doc, there's a table there, right? Okay, so if you can just show people that. So from the right-wing perspective, right, the inflation has stabilized, meaning it's decreased. And that is true. The inflation has decreased. So he's avoided hyperinflation. From the fiscal surplus, let's just go down the right. He ended chronic deficits through spending cuts. So he slashed all of the spending. And so he was able to get these cuts. There's 172% rally signals investor confidence. So there's an upping in investor confidence, GDP rebound. So because he's done all of these cuts, now the GDP is going up and it's showing a stronger base. On the public sector, he's reduced inefficiency and patronage, wages and pensions, short-term sacrifice for long-term stability. This is like the right libertarian perspective. Like, we're going to cut down these pensions and wages that are unnecessarily, but we're going to get the market to stabilize. And poverty, there's going to be a temporary strike in poverty while we adjust, but then things will get better. This is basically trickle down economics to basically kind of, you know, equate it to what the United States does. So from the left-wing perspective, though, the inflation has fallen alongside collapsing demand and wages. So your inflation has fallen, but wages have fallen as well. So how is that a win? Fiscal surplus. The surplus you've built has been because you've cut all these services and necessary necessary programs that people were using that he literally slashed. Of course, now there's a surplus, and he's also cut jobs. So the jobs that people were working at are no longer available. So therefore, yeah, you're going to have a fiscal surplus. With regarding the markets, there's assets gained over these assets that you're seeing on paper that are gaining are for the investors, for the capital class, for the people that are employing these people, but it's not for the workers that are working these jobs. The GDP rebound, recovery, mask inequality, and poverty. So you're seeing that on paper go up, but you're not taking into account the people that aren't the investors and the people at the top. The public sector, you're having weakened institutions and state capacity. So because the government is, they're cutting government spending, government power, then the people who are now impoverished have no recourse to turn to or no programs to help them because of all the other shit you slashed. And now the wages and pensions, the real incomes, though, have sharply declined. So while you're seeing the GDP growth, you're seeing inflation go down, what people used to make has declined. And now you're telling them they might not get paid in money, they're going to get paid in lodging or food and poverty. So overall, there's an increase in harming already people that were, lower middle class or on the poverty spectrum. Those people are going to go into complete poverty. How are you going to fix that? So there's two perspectives here, and I wanted to outline those two perspectives because I think it's important that people understand how to combat this when you're talking to somebody that's going to tell you, oh, statistically, because Grok will say it, oh, yes, inflation has lowered, the GDP has gone up. What does that fucking mean for the average person that is out there? It doesn't affect them positively. And so that's the most important thing here. You need to understand those are all the talking points from the people supporting Milei, and they'll just say, oh, they'll blame it on socialism. But the reality is his government actions recently have made the situation worse for most people, while on paper they get to talk about how great everything is. The same way Donald Trump and Pam Bondi get to talk about how great the economy is.
The Dow,
but the rest of you, yeah, the fucking Dow. The rest of you are not seeing it. And it's precisely because of that, because the Dow is up for the people who have the money, the dough, not for people who don't have any of that. People, the common people, will never see any of this money, will never see any of that happening. It's the same mentality, the same concept. So whenever somebody comes and tells you the inflation is down, the GDP is growing, Malay's doing great things, no, that's just reflective of this very, very backward type of trickle-down economics that doesn't work. It's not trickling down. It's not going to trickle down to the rest of the people that are every day in the streets doing this. And they're definitely, I would be. I mean, you're literally telling them they should get paid in food. Like, where are we? What century are we back in? Are we what like?
You
are
get
you
this
serious?
tense over there, Oliver. If you do a good day's work, we'll give you lads some fadosha.
Like,
what do you call the? That's Brazilian.
Focaccia?
No, Brazilians got the not they got farofa, but feijoada. We'll give you feijoada and a tent for a whole good day's worth of work. We can pay you in that now.
Churrasco in Argentina, it would be. We'll give you some churrasco for a week. You know,
guys,
some meat for a week.
Hit up the Give, Send, Go. If we had some people donating today, we could sit there and obviously kind of like, hey, fam, you want to fly out for Argentina in a couple days, get the story, come on back with it. Go hit that Give, Send, Go, guys.
Fam, come.
These are the things.
Let's go to Argentina.
Refresh that. Well, we can't be going, fam, unless people be hitting up this Give, Send, Go. Oh, we got some shares out there. We haven't got any donations today, but we do have shares. We appreciate that. So, I mean, this would be a good spot to go to right now while these protests are going on. Fam speaks the language. So, I can probably go and be her cameraman, get some interviews, get some stuff going. But we need you to hit this guys up. Thank you so much. All the links down below to help the show out. We did have somebody who donated another Rumble Rant before. We had $1. I think we read it. So we do have people over there. We got 40-something odd people. Guys, thank you so much for hanging on out. Fam, also the argument, the Dow is over 50,000. The obey, put the glasses on.
That's the same argument, though. It's the same argument. Inflation is down. The Dow is over 50,000. Is it really, though?
I want to talk about inflation, because when you price people out, when you already make it so expensive where you've gotten the most you can get for a gallon of milk, when you've gotten the most you get for a carton of eggs, when you've gotten the most you can get for meat, because meat's getting out of hand now and stuff like that. Yeah, inflation is going to go down because you can charge more for it because you'll price too many people out and that shit will go bad on the shelf. So when you have to halt, we can't charge more for gas. People aren't going to start going anywhere if we don't do that shit, right? You've already priced people out. So the whole Trump administration's making this argument. But what's sadder to see is the online content creators going out and sharing it like something. Donald Trump has stopped inflation. Motherfucker, it already cost $6 for a gallon of milk. Of course, $7 for a gallon of milk. You can't charge more for that. Of course, inflation is going to fucking halt because you've already squeezed out the consumer. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Is that the last part? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, fam.
No, I was just going to say, like, you can't. So when inflation falls because you don't have the demand. Because as Pasta said, you price people out. So like if you don't have the demand because real wages are basically gone, inflation's going to go down, but people aren't going to be buying your shit because they can't afford it. And so it's not sustainable. Like this inflation decrease is not a long-term thing. It's not sustainable. But this is what they use when they talk about inflation. Even they'll even say unemployment is down because they cut jobs. So if they cut jobs, it's like it's not real. They're talking about an inflated, false sense of security, and that security is for a small bracket of people. But when you actually, talk about the majority of people, right? And you talk about the surplus and all of this going up and the deficit spending going down, you're talking about basically taking away from public services, from wages, from anything that was supposed to help them, and that's going to have an effect on the economy. And again, like, well, they'll say this is pro-business, this is going to bring more jobs. Actually, it doesn't bring more jobs to the majority of people that need it. And so what it does is it opens the country to foreign investments, to foreign investors who are going to take the wealth of the country out of the country. And that's pretty much what's happened to the majority of Latin America. And Argentina thought they were the Europe of Latin America. Many do to this day. Bad Bunny was just in Argentina.
Yeah,
and I think that's the next
clip.
the next clip I wanted to show. He's had several concerts there, and these are majorly attended concerts. A lot of people, I think over hundreds of thousands of people went. And I said something like, if he ran for president, he'd probably be more popular than Milei at this point, and he'd probably win. So, and he started talking about a lot of the politics regarding Puerto Rico. I didn't put it in there, but he has been talking about how people need to stand up for. You might not want to play because we might get copyrighted, but yeah. But yeah, it's sad when you see people, like, especially poor people, like, and I see it all the time here in Peru, arguing against their own interests because they think like the rich will help them, or they think that they can be rich, that they can get out of this because some rich guy told them, if you do this, and you can also be rich. And they have this idea that foreign investment and foreign capital is going to help their country. It won't. It doesn't. It just takes the wealth away. And a lot of people have been talking about Israel in Argentina and the Patagonia, and Israel being behind that. And there's a lot of Israeli influence in Argentina. I don't know if you guys know that, but there's a lot of that. And there's a lot of that same mentality that really encapsulates half of the population. This is why Milei is still semi-popular, because half the population in Argentina is like that. The other half isn't. It's kind of like in Chile, you have a very similar type of attitude of that. And unfortunately, some of that also exists in Peru, at least in the capital. So yeah, I mean, it'd be great to really go to Argentina, get the story. If you guys can share out our Give, Send, Go. We're going to be coming back on Wednesday and Friday. Fam, I think we need to do something like the call-in show that you used to do. I think that'd be a great idea to do something like that.
I just do it for WBAI.
No. But we need to do it for us. I'd like to hear what. Yeah. I'd like to hear what the people have to say. Like perhaps every Wednesday or every Friday or something like that. We could do something like that. If you guys call in and you.
What is that?
You talk about something.
You have a bird
that
there
you want to talk about. There's a lot of birds outside.
Was that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Like, fam likes to have birds as pets, so you know what I'm saying. I just, yeah, maybe we could do something like that. As we can have somebody come on. We can always I can't call WBAI. I don't know why. Anybody can call the WBAI if you have a phone. If you don't have a phone, I don't know what you can do. Oh, you can't call long distance. I don't know. We'll figure something out. We'll talk about that. Guys, the Give, Send, Go thrown on up real quick. Remember, somebody was asking about that picture, fam. That's 2018, I believe. That's the Democratic Convention was that in Long Beach or San Diego? That was in San Diego, that one. I think that was one of the first ones we went to. I think we started in 2017. So that was one of the first ones. Guys, if you want to help out, election integrity matters. We'll put the link up, share it up. Go ahead and do so. If anything, just share it. It helps us out. We do appreciate it. There it is. We just shared it in the chat. That's us 2018 tackling the Democratic Party. We weren't so like, we hadn't been scorned. We still believed there was hope back then. Those are innocent faces right there that we thought we can change the Democratic Party from the inside at that point. Boy, were we wrong, right? Then came the joke. Let's change the mafia from the inside. We understood that quickly, man. That was 2018. So, guys, if you can
the
help
mafia
out,
was more possible than the Democratic Party. I still believe that.
So going back in those days, fam, when we were doing some work 8 years ago, I was doing some work in Epstein, right? Like that was my thing.
Yeah.
I was kind of combing the internet. I was looking on 4chan stuff, different drop sites, whatnot. It wasn't like it was. Twitter wasn't like the way it is today, 8 years ago. And I saw a lot of videos and stuff. Now, generally, when you looked at Epstein, there was a lot of connection from what you saw and the push out there from the people trying to leak information, because people were trying to leak information without getting caught, right? But generally, when people were talking about Epstein, they would connect it to a lot of the Satanism, the Baalism. You know, Baal was the guy. Like after we did the video, when we went over Epstein Island, remember, we were like, this is weird. This is crazy. What's this all about? Somebody gave me a call and explained to me, oh, it's a temple, the same temple of Baal. And he's like a satanic guy in which they did, sacrifices of children, whatnot. So when you saw a lot of this stuff in Epstein back in the day, there was a very straight connection to like, okay, what Epstein is all about, ignore all this stuff. It goes to the deep, deep root of the Bohemian Grove. These people are Satan worshipers. They look at us as like cattle stock. They'll sacrifice us at any time, kill us at any time. We got to be careful. And I remember you and Johnny had gone away. You went back to Orlando, I think, for Christmas or the holidays. And I was left alone and I was looking into stuff. I can't remember exactly the time, but I remember I was at home alone in the house and I was so disturbed. And I've been telling you guys this about this video with John Podesta, him beating a child, it seems like, appears to be in a shower, right? And at that time, I had learned about what adrenochrome was, which was the theory that it's a type of chemical or whatnot, almost like an adrenochrome, that when you get scared or very excited, it amps up. And supposedly they were giving this to people in Hollywood, and it keeps people young. And, even the movie Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, when Johnny Depp goes into the briefcase of, I forgot his name is, what's the name of the character? What I forgot his name is. He played one of the, Johnny Depp's co-host in that. He's a Latin actor too. He's just great in it. There was a vial of adrenochrome nonetheless, right? So this theory or this story, this make-believe or realism has always been out there. People have been talking about adrenochrome. So when I saw this video almost 8 years ago or 7 years ago, I can't remember how long ago, it just affected me in the wrong way, guys. I could not sleep. I was like, I don't want to get into this anymore. Why did I choose going down these rabbit holes? And I spent months at this stuff, right? Like I said, and it wasn't like it was back then, to try to bring the information. And that's why we were getting some serious hits on some of our videos, because we weren't the typical, right-wing conservative, socialism is awful and evil, communism and whatnot. It's like all that. We were a different crowd. Here we are in the Bernie Sanders movement, and we're talking about Epstein when nobody was talking about Epstein. Well, it's called the Skippy video, and it has resurfaced, fam. And I do have the first one I brought up right now. I don't know why he's over there. Okay, but this guy who is a Trumper saw the Skippy video, and it seems to be resurfacing a lot since the drops have come out. He talks about the video that affected me, and I've been talking about this for weeks with you guys. Listen to this guy who just watched it the other day, how emotional he was when he was moved when he heard this thing.
So I accidentally just got the Skippy video. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please, I'm begging you. I'm telling you right now, don't go look it up. Okay. It was sent to me by someone who had good intentions, and they wanted me to call it out on my platforms because I have such a huge following on my Instagram and Facebook. This message is for President Trump. It's not. Earlier today, P.S. Trump, fuck you. I'm gonna say that. Earlier today, you said it's time for us to move on from these Epstein files. The fuck are you talking about? Who's been arrested? Who's been arrested? There are people currently right now, like the Skippy, who is in the government. And if you can watch that video and hear that child and say we need to move on, you are worthless in my eyes until you do something. You're a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit. We need to burn this motherfucker to the ground until every single person that was involved in this, my guys, I know my platform isn't political, but goddamn, I feel like at this point, if you're not saying anything, you're complicit. Like you're okay with what happened to these women, these children, these young boys, these men. And it was done by the highest powers in government. It was done by the most powerful people that are supposed to protect. I'm begging you, don't go listen to the video. I'll never forget it. I turned it off as soon as I kind of got an idea what I was watching. But that's something I will never get out of my head. Burn this fucking shit to the ground until we expose every one of them. Trump, that is your fucking job. Do your fucking job.
You can see how moved he was, like how much it affected him, right? And I remember because I found it and I started listening again. I immediately stopped it, you know, and people are like, oh, it could be AI. And this was around way before AI was out, you know, saying this has been out for years. It's really hard. I don't think, you know, fam, you're an actress, right? You know, when me and Johnny had talked about this, and it's like, that's not acting. That's real. You can't recreate what that kid was doing there. There's no way they can do it. It was so hard. It really, to tell you the truth, after hearing that, I didn't sleep for days, and now I see it resurfacing out there, and people are talking about what is going on. Now, I would like to say this much. When you say, you look at this situation, a person like Michael Tracy, he's never been convicted of trafficking children, right? Pedophilia and whatnot. There hasn't been that exchange where we see somebody buying two twins for money. But right, we see all these emails, we see all this talk about it. We see all this symbolism that connects. Remember the Pizzagate stuff that Johnny and I came up with when we played back in the day? You see all this symbolism and everything connects like to this kind of Satan worshiping things that there. Listen, you have to make a decision whether you want or not. And if you do the due diligence and look at it, it's really hard to ignore. This is something that Matt Weinglass talks about me all the time. He goes, Pasta, the thing that's not being talked about enough is that the Satanism that exists around us, that these people are crazy, that they do these rituals, and they do these rituals with a lot of children. There's other videos out there. There's a video of a girl being put in a barrel, right? You know what I'm saying? There's stuff that's just haunting. So I think we really need to ask ourselves at this point, you know what I'm saying? Because I think the majority of people are settled on it. They do not want to move on from this. They do believe that there is this kind of ruling class, cultish, you know, elites that are doing these things and stuff. Where do we go from here, fam? Because Donald Trump was brought in to whitewash this. Now, he hasn't completely whitewashed this, and you have a lot of people like that out there, but you still have a lot of people still protecting him. Oh, if he was involved, he would have been got so long ago. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, he's part of the cover-up. You know what I'm saying, fam? And we have so much confusion, and it's been out there for a while. And I think it's very important to note that despite all these drops happening, and there's a lot of truth in the drops, there's always truth in a lot of psyops, there's a lot of false stuff and fake stuff to move you in a certain way. You know what I'm saying? But where do we go from here is the next question. We hear this talk about the black book a lot, right? Fam, we talked about this how many years ago with this black book?
Yeah.
The butler tried to sell it. Here is an Al Jazeera video of the butler who supposedly lied to DHS or the State Department or the FBI or whoever he was talking to, some form of spooks. He lied and tried to hold it to himself so they can profit off it. Here's the whole video of the butler doing so. Unless you have something to say about the Skippy video, because my heart's already beating from thinking about it. It's out there right now. It's on Twitter, guys. You can find it, the Skippy video. But proceed with caution. Proceed with caution. And I tell you, this thing has been out there for at least 10, 12 years right now. They've said this thing has been out there. I heard it like 7, 8 years ago, whatever the case may be. I don't think this thing is false. I don't think you can recreate this stuff. I don't think you can create that kid's fear. But fam, if you have anything to say before we play the Butler video, because Yeah, good.
Well, Trump is involved, right? So
Yeah.
how is he going to bring justice to this? Like, just going off of what the guy said in the TikTok video, Trump is a part of it. So
Yeah,
I don't necessarily think he's on the same level as some of these people like Prince Andrew, but I think he's definitely, there's enough evidence to show that he knew who Epstein was. He might have known he was shady and you know, liked young girls, but we don't really know how far he was involved. You know, people say he was more involved, some people say he was less involved, but he knew enough about Epstein that he could be implicated in one way or another. So you're not going to get the full story from any of these drops. You're going to get a lot of like things that are false, as Pasta was saying. But the thing I do want to highlight is I've seen lately online like a hyper focusing on this idea that, you know, we're ruled by satanic pedophiles, and a lot of people are capitalizing on this. Some of the people on the Christian far right are capitalizing on this. Some people, and when they talk about this in other countries, are talking about, you know, oh, the satanic pedophiles, and that means that anything that they deem satanic now is also going to be along with that. And I just don't like that route either, because I think that a lot of the things the right focuses on, like trans issues, LGBTQ stuff, like I just feel like some of that stuff is like extremist too, and it's like bigoted, or they can like go and say, oh, women need to be this way, or they're part of the satanic blah blah blah. Like, I don't like involving religion in any aspect of an analysis that requires evidence and logic. You can have your own personal religious beliefs. Everybody does, either has them or doesn't have them, or they believe whatever they believe. I have no problem with that. But when we're analyzing something, even if these people are part of some cult, which it's very possible that they are, it does seem like they are part of a cult. The moment you have people talk about satanic, like, you know, stuff, it becomes like this trendy thing. And then it becomes like this very esoteric thing that is hard for other people to grasp unless they have deep knowledge of, you know, of all of this. And I would like to get into this conversation more so with like Matt Arrett or somebody like that, that really like deals in this, and the professor from Beijing as well, who was just on with one of my friends from Beat Media. Like, I respect that, and I think it's good, and the philosophy of it, I think, has a lot to do with what we're seeing when it comes to these people and their behavior, their darkness that they embrace. They are evil. I think we are fighting like an evil right now in the world. There is a lot of evil in the world, and I think there is a lot of countering that needs to be done to that in a very esoteric sense. But at the same time, it's become also trendy to talk about anything and anybody that disagrees with the Christian viewpoint as satanic and pedophilic. And I think that's just a slippery slope when you have so many different points of views. For example, like a lot of these people were saying how Bad Bunny was promoting satanic blah blah blah, and XYZ, Taylor Swift or whoever promotes satanic stuff. Like, I just don't feel like you can have an argument about that, because it's not dealing in logic and stuff. You can have an argument about somebody that was taken, physically abused, assaulted, you know, killed or whatever, sacrificed or whatever. Those things exist. I mean, there's long been the existence of cults and societies like this. But my whole point is, if we're hyper focused on that, we're never going to get them, because they're just going to write you off as some guy that thinks that they're sacrificing babies at an altar. Like, even if that's the case, the way to go about it is to focus on the mechanisms of how to get them rather than on the act itself. Because a lot of these people that are claiming they're against, you know, child sex trafficking and pedophilia are also not the best human beings either, that are espousing Christianity to the world. I think it just makes everything super murky. And I just see that being everywhere. Now everything is satanic pedophilia. Everything is satanic. Everything is satanic now. Like, a guy wears eyeliner. Now he's a Satanist. Like, I just think we're getting away from the reality that people were abused. There are very powerful people that control the functions in our society. There are very powerful people that manipulate things behind the scenes, that Epstein is one of many, and that he's definitely not alone, that they've already replaced him for this to continue, and that it's evil, yeah, but it's not just, you know, that kind of evil. It is an evil that is inhumane and that needs to be stopped. I don't know. That's just my opinion on it. Like, I don't want to get into the religious aspect of it because,
well, I mean, you did have Putin, I think, just mention, like,
yeah, that's my issue.
Yeah, he did. But like, a lot of people thought conspiracy theorists exist too as well. And then when Troop talked about, I'm going to take out the biolabs, I think we're seeing this merger of like conspiracy theories into the mainstream, right? And I get it too. There was also some stuff in Iran, I guess, a ball figure or statue, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And by the way, you know, just to address a couple people in the chat were saying some stuff like that. Pasta, don't be so gumbo. This guy is saying Trump, do your job. Like, he has to find that at his own rate. And I've been talking about this. He said, fuck you, Trump, and Trump, do your job, like thinking that Trump's an outsider. No, he's part of the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to, you know, once again, I just wanted to point out the emotion that came from when this person heard this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it's almost, like I said, it's almost, I don't know, fam. I don't know if you've ever heard it in a while. You can't fake.
No, I don't. I never saw it.
You should. It's. You can see it on. It's mostly audio, because it's blurred out. So all you can do is hear it. But if you look up the Skippy video on Twitter, I don't want to play it because they'll take the whole fucking stream down. You know, so it's
I
tough.
believe in Satan. No. I believe in Satan. Addressing the chat, I believe in evil. Evil 100% exists. 100%. If good exists, evil exists. I 100% believe in that. I just don't think. I think a lot of people are capitalizing on this, like, oh, satanic pedophiles rule the world, to try to like distract us from really having a legitimate conversation, because you're never going to be able to prove that there's a cabal of demons, 6 of them sitting on a chair manipulating how the world is run. Even if that is the case, it just makes it impossible for us to go that route. And then you have the likes of Candace Owens, right, who's talking about satanic global cabal of Bolsheviks. Like, it just makes everything like really
they
just
tie the
murky.
Marxism and the Satanism together, fam. That's a big thing too as well. I think we shown the redheaded libertarian go, this Satan Marxist. Like, they try to, and there's people out there who talk about, oh, Marx was a Satanist, right? Like, you hear that argument.
And I don't have to be a practicing Christian or have a Jesus picture behind me to be a good person. And I don't have to go to church every Sunday, you know, to be a good person, because the majority of people that I know that have gone to church every Sunday have been absolute dire human beings, terrible human beings the minute they leave church. And that's one of the hypocrisies, one of the reasons why I hate the Catholic Church, all the shit that they've done to people, and why I don't believe in established religion. However, you know, that doesn't mean I don't believe in a higher power. It doesn't mean I'm not spiritual. That doesn't mean I don't have faith, or that I've never prayed, or that I don't pray, or that I don't believe in miracles. It's not so dogmatic, is what I'm saying, for me personally. So when people try to impose any sort of like, oh, this is we need to be Christians to fight this evil, I just feel like that's coming from a very controlled narrative type of place. You know, there is good, there is evil. What Epstein did and that whole cabal of them is evil. It is rooted in darkness, and there has to be combating it with light. There has to be combating it with the counter to it. But it doesn't have to be this religious thing, because not everybody is a part of that. So
I agree. No, I agree. Let's watch The Butler, because there's been a lot of talk about the black books just showing up in people's hands. They've had it for a long time. You know what I'm saying? We had the whole list of the book a long time ago. I don't know what it means today. Maybe there were names left out when we got it, but take a look.
How are you? Me too. Come on in. How are you? Good. Yeah, the documents. Who created this book?
Epstein himself. I have it there, and also my computer, but just it's a power failure. He was very organized, so I was supposed to be this from every plane and everything. Just there's the computer that was ready with water. first time in my life I saw that to keep it full because they used to download pictures like this, just like that.
What kind of pictures?
Naked girls from Sweden, from Romania, from Czechoslovakia, from Brazil, from
All
Colombia.
minors? All young girls?
Very young, very young.
Like when you say very young, how young are you talking?
16, 17. The teenagers, they have braces, most of them.
Younger than that though?
Yeah. And they used to go out to comedy shops or ice cream parlors or movies, a lot of movies, because of it.
Right.
You know, paintings, ice cream and comedy and movies. Remember that they would stay meeting you if you erase them. I know I hope the rest would say there's his name Maxwell was his former companion, a very powerful lady from England. She would go to the former Eastern countries in Europe and find girls for Epstein. And I knew that because I went with my wife. They used to have a computer so powerful. They used to have a water radiator to cool the computer because they used to download pictures like that so fast. Girls, she has nice breasts, she has this and that.
You saw that stuff?
Yeah.
On the computer,
Yeah.
pictures of the girls?
Mm-hmm.
When they naked and stuff like that?
Yeah, I testify that. When I former Prime Minister of Israel, he really got to the Secret Service was there.
So that was the butler who tried to sell Epstein's little black book. There was a sting operation. They got it all, fam. Like I said, this book has been comebacking into play lately. People have been talking about it. Somebody found it. I don't know. Like,
yeah, I don't buy that people can just find that book out of
Yeah.
nowhere and run into it and just, figure it out and figure where it's at. I mean, these things this is a carefully crafted operation. I'm not saying that they're beyond mistakes, but they don't make mistakes like that. Whatever you found, they wanted people to find. They wanted people to get a hold of. The information that's been released has been approved information. We're not going to see the release of information that's going to 100% be a smoking gun implication of any of these people. Nobody's going to jail. That's the reality. As much as people cry and stomp, they're not going to go. They're not going to go to jail. The people that have gone in jail are the people that are the fault people, and we don't even know if that's them in jail anymore.
Yeah.
It's like we don't even know if it is Ghislaine Maxwell. We don't know if Jeffrey Epstein is actually dead or not. He definitely didn't kill himself, but is he actually even dead? There's so many things that are left into question, and it's not a conspiracy. It is literally within the realm of possibility because of everything that's happened, right?
Yeah.
And now they're acting like the Mossad ties are something new when that was long exposed. And I didn't get to put in the the latest Michael Tracy thing.
Well, if you want to grab it real quick while we
files.
pay Marjorie Taylor Greene, because we do have to kind of point out this
Yeah.
tweet is getting a lot of play real quick, and take us off the screen, play it full screen. It's 2 minutes and change. Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that Donald Trump called and said that my friends will get hurt. You can't do this because it will hurt my friends. Guys, you're watching the TruthWire. All the ways to help are down below in the link. If you can do so, if you can't, at least do it. Give us a share. We love you out there.
Jeffrey Epstein was supposedly killed. That's on an FBI form. That's not somebody calling in an anonymous tip or writing it on some deep, dark place in the internet. That's an actual FBI file stating what happened. And people are going to have to completely take in what they are seeing with their own eyes, what they're reading, and what they're being told. The reality is the Trump administration is not releasing the information. And I got yelled at by the president over this. This is why he called me a traitor. He called me a traitor because I would not take my name off the discharge petition, because I stood firmly and said, no, we're going to release the Epstein files. I'm standing with women who were raped as teenagers. I'm not standing with the government. I don't support the cover up of all of this stuff, whatever it may be. And the president got mad at me, and he told me, and I've said this multiple times, he told me his friends would get hurt. And that's what he told me. And then we're seeing a continued slow walk and cover up of a lot of this information. And I know that is why. I firmly believe that that's why it is being covered up. Look, Pam Bondi works directly for Donald Trump. She is not out there an independent attorney general. She can't just run out and do whatever she wants. She works at the pleasure and approval of the President of the United States. Everybody in the administration does. So does the FBI. They're under the very same pleasure and approval of the President of the United States. So when everyone's getting mad at Pam Bondi, or you can name anybody you want. The man at the top is Donald Trump. He's the president. And he's the one that was completely against releasing the files when we started fighting to get them released. He's the one that called it a Democrat hoax. He's the one that, he invites everybody to the White House, but he will not invite these women that have defended him, by the way. They have defended him and said Donald Trump did nothing wrong. They have defended him, yet he doesn't bring them in the White House and support them. But what you're seeing is if it looks like a duck, and if it quacks like a duck and it walks like a duck, it's a duck.
Or it might be a Lutnick.
Right.
Or it might be a Lutnick duck.
You're muted.
Sorry, not anymore. Mr. Lutnick, who had who was the president of Cantor Fitzgerald, mysteriously didn't show up to work on 9/11. Fam, I wonder why. My cousin used to work for him, and my cousin's dead. Lost him in the World Trade Center. He went in early to cover for Mr. Lutnick. Kind of crazy. Anyways, fam, that's it. I mean, I wanted to play that because she exposed it. Donald Trump said it will hurt my friends, right? That's why he was put in this position, fam. But go ahead. And then you can get
again, he's not going to hurt his friends. He's not going to hurt his interests. There's too many people involved. We're not going to see it. And it's not just Donald Trump, but Marjorie Taylor Greene leaves out. It's above Donald Trump. There's people. And these people aren't going to allow this thing to derail regardless of what Trump wants. And that's what we need to remember. It's not just Donald Trump. Donald Trump isn't calling all the shots. We already know this. So,
he has the power.
More than that.
He has the power, though. If he wanted to, right, he could do something. So now
he could do more than what he's doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Of course they protect each other. I mean, it's a big club, right? Like this is it. No matter how disgusting one of them is, they're going to protect each other at the end of the day. They're not going to protect you. They're not working for you. And that's the thing. They should be working for you, but they're not. They're working for their friends, for themselves. And still, you have people like Michael Tracy who believe that Jeffrey Epstein was just a charismatic guy that just got a lot of people to believe in him because he was so freaking charismatic.
That tweet? Bring that tweet up.
Yeah, it's there.
Jayme, you get it?
What he said. Yeah, let's read what he said in the tweet. You got it? Okay, so he said, here's one thing nobody wants to admit. Jeffrey Epstein was highly intelligent, well-read, charismatic, skillful at various complicated endeavors, yes, including his money management business, and a lot of smart people genuinely enjoyed his company. I'm sorry, but if everyone from Steve Bannon to Noam Chomsky to Alan Dershowitz to Marvin Minsky, as well as all manner of other academics and scientists at the top of their fields, found him intellectually stimulating, praised his intellect, and appreciated the intellectual. How many times are you going to talk about intellect and intellectual? And appreciated the intellectual opportunities he was able to facilitate? It's just stupid not to acknowledge this. So I'm confused. Is this all? He's literally just saying that Jeffrey Epstein was so intellectually intelligent, intellectually stimulating, intellectual, that because everybody else thought he was intellectually super and amazing, that's the reason why he was so well connected, that's the reason why this guy who literally came from nowhere was able to drop out of school, somehow get into the Dalton School of Business, and then Bear Stearns, and then go and make it into the Council of Foreign Relations.
Yeah.
And then somehow he was able to surround himself with the creme de la creme of powerful people, right? And have enough money somehow, make so much money that he was able to attend these parties and get this access and get all of these friends that are linked to intelligence or linked to, extreme wealth and extreme power, more important than wealth in that matter. And then only Ghislaine Maxwell, who is the child of a top Mossad agent, ends up in jail, and he ends up dead. Like, how do you, I don't understand. After knowing everything you know, after seeing all of the evidence, how do you just pinpoint this down to the fact that he was just a charismatic, smart guy that was able to sell, things to people? Pasta's pretty charismatic. He's smart. He's definitely more street smart than book smart, but he's still smart. And Pasta, he's able to do a lot of things. He's able to convince a lot of people. But even if he was, more of an intellectual, how do you say that somebody can convince all these people and have access to all these people and somehow be able to have yes people do this or that, bring them, have an island, make so much money off of just being a teacher? Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. You're deaf to even begin justifying that. It's absolutely insane that you think that this is just some coincidentally smart, well-connected Jewish man that just happens to be all of these other things too.
Well, he's trying to imply, and we talked about this the other day. We didn't bring the tweet up, but we talked about it. And you said, you made a statement. It's orchestrated, managed, and controlled. What would you say? It's orchestrated, managed, and I can't remember what you said the other day. Jeffrey Epstein was chosen, orchestrated, and managed. I can't remember what you said, but we'll go back and look at it.
I don't remember what I said either.
Yeah, it was one of those things you said. You know what I'm saying? And that, this wasn't by chance. Now, Michael Tracy's trying to imply that he was a charismatic guy and he was able to meet people and create opportunities, and he was an intellect, and you guys are just avoiding all that and just saying he's a pedophile. No, I mean, they're saying he's a pedophile who trafficked children, whether they be for sacrifice, or he was never charged with it. Yeah, billions of dollars or millions of dollars are not going to be paid out with like 130 victims, right? And, he wants to always refer to like Virginia Dufresne, I think her name was, and kind of once again beat her down, say she's stupid. She's like the Tara Reid of this situation, is what he's trying to imply, that she's the unstable one, and that's where most of this information comes from. But there are millions of dollars that were paid out for all these victims on a civil case, because a guy like this is never going to be brought to justice. You want to deny all his connections to the government, the Mossad, trilateral. I mean, you used to look at the trilateral commission. Mike, this is your thing you used to do back in the days. Why are you just ignoring this? This guy was like a protected, chosen, and then orchestrated and managed elite. This doesn't happen by chance. There's nothing he does by chance. And just explain to me all the symbolism, his island, all that stuff. What is that? Just significance, right? All the emails, not from Virginia, from all these other witnesses, all these other people talking about children sacrifice and all this other stuff. And I mean, it's kind of weird, to say that this guy was like, not an untouchable freak show of sorts that was able to manipulate this whole situation on Earth and take advantage of.
He was put there. I mean, he was selected and placed and managed. And he also did a lot of managing for somebody else. I mean, he had a boss. You don't think he had a boss? Of course he had a boss. He wasn't the only boss. I mean, he was given this stuff, right? Like, he was given like this power, but because it could also be used against him. Like, he was working for somebody, right? He's not the top dog here. He protects them. And now they have another guy protecting them. That's the reality that we have to remember. This did not end here with Jeffrey Epstein. I'm sure have other operations that are already at work, if not, a rebuilding and doing this again because they can. especially to more vulnerable populations. This is why they preyed on girls who were from broken homes, who were poor, who were, you know, from other countries where they didn't have the same defenses that they would have here, Eastern Europe. You know, they knew exactly who they were targeting. They knew exactly what they were doing. And they knew that they had enough people there where they would get away with it, and they could get away with it. And they have enough idiots or compromised people like Tracy out there with their sword and their armor fighting for the likes of Epstein and Chomsky and all of these disgusting individuals that are clearly involved or have clearly diminished the crimes that these people have committed. It is either at that point, after seeing that, I'm like, either you're being paid or you're severely mentally incapacitated. Or your hatred for women is like, you know, just out the wazoo, because he did go after Whitney Webb, right? So, you know, there's also that aspect. And she's been, of course, on this longer than most and talking about all this stuff. So it is really no surprise that he's so ardently pro the sexist, you know, sex trafficking, pedophilic, anti-woman type of existence of these people. That, yeah, I'm not surprised. What I am surprised is that he's trying to justify it in this way, because it's completely, his reputation is on the ground. I mean, you don't come back from something like this. This is, how do you defend this? How do you defend this? It's proven. He was a convicted sex offender.
Yeah, but you didn't traffic children for pedophilia. It's not like little kids.
No, it's just 15-year-old girls. And if you don't think they're kids, I hope you never have a daughter, because that's a child. That's a child.
No, I agree. Can't even play devil's advocate. Guys, that's it for the show today. Thank you so much for coming on out. We're going to show the Give, Send, Go one last time, because we didn't get a donation this whole show. And I don't like to go over. So if anybody's got $1 or $2 and they can slip it into the piggy bank, that would help us out. If not, do the shares. We do appreciate you doing so. Jayme, you want to throw it on up to Give, Send, Go? Here it is. Do us a favor. Do us a like. We got some shares out there, so that helps. But if you got a few bucks you can throw on in, we can definitely use the help right now. If not, we'll be back Wednesday. Maybe you could do some there. GiveSendGo.com/election integrity matters. Peru is in the very close near future, and Fujimori is running again. And the lithium, fam, it sits on the lithium triangle. And if they get another leftist back in who tries to rewrite the Constitution, he or she will get thrown in jail again. Several Peruvian presidents who try to change that Constitution to nationalize that lithium get thrown in jail right away. That's how you get the CIA showing up very quickly in Peru. So there's a lot on the lines. We also got Colombia this year, which is very interesting. I think that Donald Trump hasn't gone after. Well, he has gone after him. Maybe they try to kill him. Pedro Gustavo said he was almost killed the other day. That there was an attempted assassination. But they got an election coming up, so that's going to be very interesting. What's going to go on in Colombia? We got to get over there, and of course Brazil. Brazil is always some. I think Bolsonaro's son is running. I think so. I think that's what it is. Bolsonaro's son might be running, and of course Lula is going to run again, from what we hear. So we will all check that out, guys. So if you can help us out, I saw the thing about Twitter. Something weird is going on Twitter. No matter where you're following us, thank you so much for following us. All the ways to help us are down below. Once again, our Give, Send, Go is right there. Go to GiveSendGo.com/election integrity matters. Help us out. Help us get our boots on the ground. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching today. For Fiorella,
help us.
Yeah, good.
Help us cover all the imperialism going on around the world, because there's a lot of that going on. You know, there's Iran on the radar. There's the capturing of Latin America. There's a lot going on. So we also want to make sure to cover what is happening there. And also, of course, the United States, everything that's happening with ICE and this new surveillance state, not new, but ever expanding surveillance state. So the more we have help from you, the less we can need to rely on any outside sources Right now, we don't have any outside money from any Zionists, from any countries, from any just groups of any kind. You know, we're fully independent, so we do need your help to actually support independent media. So, you know, the alternative mainstream media and then the mainstream media aren't the only voices that you're hearing. So hopefully we are able to do that, and we'll keep you all posted with all the developments. So once again, thank you all so much for your support, and I will see you back on Wednesday.
See you back then. For Jayme CheeseSlice on the ones and twos. Thank you, Jayme. Gabrielle, thank you out there for holding down that chat. Fred Edward, we love you too. And all the other TruthWire tribe people. We'll see you next Wednesday. This Wednesday.